Future Generations of Family Journal. I made him do this to promote this book. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And there it is, folks. You see that? That's the family reunion. United States Postal Service, Smock, Pennsylvania, zip code 15480, July 31st, 2004. Your mother, Marcy, a big part of this book. Your father, your family, your children, your wife. Tell me about it.
Well, my mother is what was called a collector. She collected all the photographs, so I went through all the albums and pulled things together from. It goes back to the early 1900s and even before that, people making the journey from the old country to America to work in the coal mines, raising families, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And it's through the years, with a family of 8, Christmases, baptisms, weddings, and with all the hard work and toil that they had to do, they still had a family and were, just raised their own families and on and on and on. So it's a generational story, and one of the things about a family history, it's the best family heirloom you can have.
Last thing, where it all begins and ends in that family home, and this is the grandparents' home in Smock, Pennsylvania. Tell me about it.
Well, that's a H.C. Frick coal company town, and company houses and whatever else. My grandfather was able to work his way up in the social ladder and buy this house, which is a superintendent's house, actually. But the Sunday afternoons at Grandma's house with the aromas of the chicken noodle soup and the pierogies and the kolache and the nut rolls. And there were so many kids there that you had to sit on the floor. If you got up to, go somewhere, you lost your space. But talk about the women would laugh and the men would drink their beers and tell their stories of World War II, and it was just a great environment to grow up in.
And here's how we tie it all into sports. As an apple, as an American pie, of course, baseball was more than a pastime. It was a way of life. And tell them about the Smock Big Ten Champs 53.
Well, every coal company town had its own baseball team, and this particular one in Smock was had some great players. They won the county league championships, and it's my Uncle John, and he actually got a contract to play professional baseball, but he couldn't leave town because he was married and was raising a daughter.
Your mother, Marcy, the 9 siblings, the grandkids, everything to her. And your father, they recently would have celebrated 71, but she, this is significant, have been without him longer than she actually was with him, because he died that long ago, right?
He got married in 1947. It was 71 years ago on Friday, February 17th, and one of the most significant days of her life. But he passed away in 1977. So she's actually been on her own longer than they were married. Strong lady, fighter, tough heart.
So Ernie Powell, the hat, the significance. Tell the audience, and we're going to say goodbye.
Yes, the Ernie Powell Foundation, to keep alive the legacy of a man who lived with and wrote about the troops in World War II, and became the GI's friend, GI's buddy. And he loved these guys, the hardships and the deprivations they had to put up with just to live under those conditions. Out in the weather and in the foxholes, and the price they paid to win that war.
And I promise I'm going to get him to the American Legion Post 580 Monaca, and we're going to talk a little patriotism, a little sports. That's going to happen in the weeks to come. But listen, if you open this book can be basically your name here, because we all in Western Pennsylvania. You like that?
I was going to say, there are people who have read it, are different nationalities, and they'll break out and cry and say, well, that's my family story too. That's what we were. And so it appeals to every ethnic group, but it's of particular importance to those who worked in the coal mine.
So I guess it would be significant to say Nostrovia.
Nostrovia, yeah. Nostrovia Wolfie.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, the great Bob Dvorak. They don't come much better. He, of course, along with Greg Dale, his Vantage Management Group, part of the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show every week, 11 to 1 on KDK Radio. Good afternoon.